statemens, and his brief, self-concealing autobiography. The narrative is biographical but selective. It proceeds chronologically by highlighting key moments when Jefferson had pen in hand. It is a pen used both to show and to hide. This master writer is a master of the shifting line between revealing and concealing from others and himself the complications, inconsistencies, and contradictions between his principles and his policies, between his optimistic view of human nature and the realities of his personal situation and the world he lived in. Jefferson was constantly defining himself by literary acts, from his first letters to his self-created description for his tombstone. Only occasionally did he write explicitly about himself, his feelings, experiences, and relationships, and almost always in letters, which are among his most powerful and revealing writings. To approach Jefferson through his writings helps us to get into his mind and feelings. It contributes to our understanding of his strengths and limitations. It fosters an appreciation of his role as a propagandist of the Revolution, of the way he both made and recorded crucial aspects of the history of the first years of our Republic. This approach shows how Jefferson wrote in different voices to different people and groups. It highlights his ability to change tone and language, as in his addresses to Indian nations, adjusting his appeal to the needs of his audience, and it also allows a focus on Jefferson as a revisionist historian, attempting to mold the historical record in favor of himself and his policies. To focus on what and how he wrote helps us understand his personal and political tensions and reveals the complexity and fullness of his personality. Moreover, it allows us to read and appreciate prose of the highest literary and intellectual quality. It bookmarks Jefferson with Lincoln as a master of the English language. Jefferson was a superb writer, with a genius particularly suited to his needs as a Virginia legislator, wartime propagandist, governor, congressional delegate, Secretary of State, Vice President, President, and the premier intellectual, cultural, and moral voice of the republic he helped create and then lived in for 50 years. Jefferson gave eloquent articulation to the founding ideas of the United States. Many are still the bellwether values of American society. He channeled the widespread sentiment and language of rebellion into a declaration whose first paragraph became a worldwide affirmation of personal liberty and Republican government. As a leader in the Virginia legislature, his path-breaking proposals on issues from religious liberty to inheritance reform resonated with a set of values that the country was to embrace over time. And in his few years in the Confederation Congress, his writing talent, his gift for logical organization, concision, and precision, his assiduous work ethic, and his diplomatic tactfulness made him a prominent force in moving disparate interests toward a more unified expression of national priorities. He and his colleagues recognized the need for the Confederated States to have a national Congress responsible for interstate commerce and foreign affairs, though how to do this and how far to go required a consensus difficult to achieve. As the second United States minister to France, Jefferson's work ethic, social amiability, writing skills, and aristocratic bearing made him the right person for the assignment. When, in 1789, he returned to America to become its first Secretary of State, he had already contributed to the making of the new nation what most others would have considered a full career. As Secretary of State and President, he advocated his version of Republican values, emphasizing frugality, decentralization, agriculture, westward expansion, and an extension of the franchise. Jefferson, though, was a public man who preferred his private home to the civic square. He could not, in March 1809, get out of Washington fast enough. Much of his desire for privacy was personal, but he also had intimations of an American future of which he did not approve. He disapproved of the federal court system, especially the Supreme Court, as the unelected determiner of the Constitution's meaning, of the influential role of banks, paper currency, and stock markets in the emerging commercial nation.